So I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to a bunch of different startups lately and seeing a bunch of different software products. And one thing that I learned, and that has really bitten me in the butt for the past year or two, is that you don't need to have a 100% beautifully architected out software product for your startup. And what does that look like? Well, I was talking to one business that basically when they post their products online, those products, you just throw stuff into a Google Sheet and then it goes over to this place and then it ends up in Shopify, but then Shopify has this plugin, and then finally when somebody buys it, they do some manual moving around and stuff like that. It's not pretty, but it looks pretty to the customer. The customer would never know that all this random stuff is happening in the back end. And what I've been trying to do with PixGenie, this big bottleneck that's been hurting me a lot, is trying to spin up products in an online store on the fly in a way that nobody does yet. So when somebody comes and designs a t-shirt, I try to spin it up and actually publish a product with its own SKU in a store so that they can purchase it on a product page and everything. And well, that's great. That's fantastic to want to do that. But you know, it'd be a lot faster just having a payment button and a form to fill out, like, and sending the picture that they generate off to a database, dude, and then manually going out and fulfilling those orders by hand. So that is a completely viable solution up until I've got, you know, like hundreds of orders coming in, and then I can just like pay people to program that if I have that coming through, or I could outsource it to a couple VAs. Yeah, I don't know if that made sense. Basically, I've been trying to build this beautiful system that lets products get published in a legit product catalog and buy them, and it looks great. You add it to your cart and all this cool stuff, and that's fantastic. But maybe to start out, I don't need to use an e-commerce store. Maybe I could just use a Shopify or something, but it'd be so much simpler if I just had a button. It's like, here's your payment, and that button has you fill out a form, and you fill out the form, and then it just, boom, sends it off in an email to me, and voila, done. I would have so much less development work to do, so many fewer APIs to, you know, play with if I was just doing something like that. And it's not a beautiful solution, but the customer doesn't know. I guess the add to your cart, yeah, that could be programmed out without a cart system and everything. And doing this would allow me to cut out a middleman. Like, I wouldn't have to use Wix or Shopify. I could just use one payment processor like Stripe, and then I could host this bad boy on just whatever server I feel like, really. And I don't think this is a humongous hard thing to do. I mean, this website is very simple. It's just you show up, you design image, you edit image a little bit, you click buy, boom, done. It's like you're just moving some photos around. You know, the back end stuff is tricky, but the UI is not hard. And it would be a whole lot nicer if I could just write this epic maintainable code for something that's not this really specific environment, like not Wix, not Shopify. And I guess one problem that could show up is that down the line, it's like, oh, now you don't get to install all these great third-party plugins and tools to, you know, do upsells or to do tracking or whatever. But I'm sure there's a lot that you can do with just adding pixels to your site. They're not dependent on Wix or Shopify. So yeah, I think that might be a direction that I head in, and that would be giving me more freedom. I wouldn't have to be working in these constrictive development environments as much. And it's still a lean, mean t-shirt selling machine. It's just, instead of automated everything, it's like, okay, now you just have to go manually fill out an order and send it to somebody. Like, you never touch the product still. You just moving a couple numbers around, and you know, down the line you can automate it too. So I think that would be the most intelligent thing to do right now, instead of wasting time developing in a restrictive ecosystem. and wanting everything to be perfect. It's like, no, just make it look perfect for the customer, but in the back end you do a little bit of, magic behind the scenes for now, and then as it takes off and as it gets better, you invest that money into going towards that vision. Anyway, that was a really high level look at something I've been thinking of, but it was kind of mind-blowing to me to realize how some big startups just use systems like that, like Google Sheets. Like behind the scenes, it might not be as fancy as it looks. So that was something cool that I learned.